WWE has a lot of fans scratching their heads today. Tony Khan explains his outburst against the other Khan. And we have new tag team champions, suspiciously enough, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is the Rantin Review Podcast. What is going on, you sexy bitches? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Podcast here on Podbean, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this, of course, on the interwebs. I appreciate you guys checking it out. I also appreciate all of my Patreons or patrons on Patreon. I do have a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/wrestlinrantin, RASSSLINRANTIN, where you can get, for as low as $1, a way to sponsor the page, way to help out the channel. There's a $3 tier if you want to get Q&As every single month, and we also have some other exclusive videos and audio that we do. And of course, the $5 tier is for the old school watch along, where I will record a reaction video to some classic moments, classic matches, and classic events in the history of pro wrestling and sports entertainment. You can get all that, of course, by going to patreon.com/wrestlinrantin. So check that out when you get a chance. I'd like to send a shout out, of course, today to some of the new patrons. Austin Metzger, thanks very much for signing up. We also have Christopher Jazzcat, one of the people who has been very, very vocal on Twitch with our Twitch streams for the Mass Effect playthrough. And of course, speaking of that, Scotty Boy, who is responsible for killing the council in Mass Effect the other day, and he's not going to live it down. You ain't living it down, Scotty. Everybody's going to remind you of it from here on out because you killed the council. It's on you. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thank you guys for becoming patrons. And again, anybody else who wants to sign up, I definitely appreciate it. It definitely helps out the channel moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, let's get right to it. The biggest news that just broke a couple hours ago. I am shocked. A lot of people are shocked. This is, I don't know what the hell's going on in WWE anymore. They headlined WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, had another set of releases today. Now, some of these releases, a lot of these releases, you know, you can kind of, you kind of saw some of these coming. There's a couple I didn't. But I'm the big one on top of the list I'm surprised at. So today, WWE announced that it had released Santana Garrett. Okay. Murphy, which I'm surprised at. I thought they would have a lot more to do with Murphy, given, you know, the talent that guy has. But then again, you know, they dropped him in Seth Rollins' storyline and the whole thing with the Guerreros or whatever. The Guerreros, the Mysterios. So I guess that whatever. Lana is a bit of a surprise, but then again, maybe not. And I think she's, before anybody starts about AEW confirmed, I think she's probably the first one everybody would expect to go to AEW would be Lana. AEW could do a lot with Lana and Miro on the same roster. That could be some good stuff. Ruby Riott, I am also surprised at. Ruby Riott's been very loyal to WWE. And she's stuck in there with them, even though they, you know, she's yet another one of many talented wrestlers that I don't think they ever found anything really good to do with. And then there's Aleister Black, which I'm not surprised by, because the scuttlebutt has been for months now that he was unhappy. They were unhappy with him. So I'm not surprised that he's leaving. And of course, you know, they released his partner a few months ago. So that's a shame. Aleister Black in NXT, that guy had such a presence and was such a good wrestler. The fact that they could not find out what the hell to do with him on the main roster is not an indictment against Aleister Black at all. It is an indictment against what the hell is going on in WWE. And I don't know what's going on in WWE. There may be some new faces coming to WWE, though. We'll talk about that in a bit. And we also have the one that is the absolute biggest shock of this year. Braun Strowman? WWE released Braun Strowman? Braun Strowman, who is the quintessential WWE type of person. He's big. He's scary looking. He's Braun. He sings the company's praises. he might feel a little regretful now for kind of crapping on the wrestling scene outside of WWE as he has done in the past. But yeah, they released Braun Strowman. I don't get that one. I don't get that one. Braun Strowman was Universal Champion for about 3 or 4 months a few years ago. He beat Goldberg at WrestleMania 36. I don't get it. I don't get that at all. I don't get releasing Braun Strowman. Aleister Black let out, who's now changed his name back to Tommy N. He sent out a tweet that said, "I'm gathering my thoughts as this was a complete left field for me, as obviously we just talked. We just started the Dark Father character, but this was it. Thank you so much, WWE Universe, for allowing me to create and give you small bits of myself." Now, see, I don't know if I buy that too much. Well, maybe he did, because they just started. He's right. They just started this Dark Father thing with him. But apparently that's indicative. I haven't watched a full Raw or SmackDown in a while, but it's apparently Raw is the one. That's indicative of Raw, that they just start storylines and they don't go anywhere and they drop stuff and they release people. I have no idea why. I don't get it. I don't get it. A lot of these people. Lana, CJ Perry tweeted out, "I will never forget the fans and the love they showed me. Whether it was a tank, power suits, flags, crush, Rusev, 900 partners, weddings, or tables. I tried to always entertain you, and you definitely elevated me. Thank you." Strowman, of course, he put out a tweet saying that he was happy for what, he was happy for his time there, essentially. They all pretty much said that. But dude, I don't know what the hell's going on with this company. This makes, I'm kind of speechless. Braun Strowman surprises me. Murphy surprises me. I'm not as surprised by Aleister Black or Ruby Riott or Santana Garrett. I'm not as surprised by those. But yeah, of course, now everybody's going to go AEW confirmed, so on and so forth. I think AEW would be well suited to get Braun Strowman. I think they'd be well suited to get Aleister Black. I think Ruby Riott, however, would be more of a priority. You want to get some of that great talent that they've released. Now, of course, we're months away from this. AEW's got another TV show, so we'll see what happens. Lana, obviously, is an obvious fit. Now, Murphy, you don't want everybody going to AEW, though. So maybe Strowman going to Impact might be a better thing. Maybe Aleister Black going back to the UK. Well, there is no UK scene right now. But maybe him going to some other places, maybe MLW, maybe somewhere else. We'll see where all these people land up. I get a feeling that the roster over at AEW could get kind of crowded if all of these people, including the ones that were released a few months ago, Samoa Joe, Mickie James, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, so on and so forth. I don't know, man. This one just shocked me. Now, some people that may be heading toward WWE, we got new IWGP Tag Team Champions. Just out of the blue. The Road to Dominion, which I'm surprised Dominion's still a thing, but Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa lost the IWGP Tag Team Championships to the Dangerous Tekkers on a Road to show out of nowhere. This is very suspicious to me. I'm very, very suspicious as to why this happened on a Road to show. This feud's been going on for 6 months now. And the blow-off matches on a Road to show? Tama Tonga's made some mutterings here and there. I don't know if him and Tonga Loa would be going to the E. I hope not. But then again, there's not much else for them to do in New Japan. They've been tag champions, 6, 7 times? Who God knows how many times they've been tag champions. There are no other tag teams in New Japan. I don't see anything else for them to do unless New Japan gets an influx of new tag teams. So, as much as it kind of would be weird to see it, I would not mind seeing, I guess in the long run, I wouldn't mind seeing at least the New Day face the Guerrillas of Destiny or the Usos face the Guerrillas of Destiny. Those are matches I'd like to see. But outside of that, we know what would happen to the Guerrillas. After that, you know what happens. Like maybe Guerrillas going in for 1 year. If they had 1 year contracts, do a 1 year contract, get those 3 matches out of the way, because after that, as we just saw with the releases, They're not going to know what to do. They don't know what to do with Braun Strowman and Aleister Black. They're not going to know what to do with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa outside of making them backup for Roman Reigns. And I mean, there may be some money in that because Roman and Tama Tonga had a little verbal feud a few years ago, but I don't know. So that's the news coming out of New Japan. I am keeping an eye on New Japan stuff because it's been very hard to kind of keep up with what they're doing. There's just too much going on with whatever's happening with them in the Tag Team Championships and the World Championship. And, the main thing is the 6-man tag titles. They got more injuries. Jado was injured. He's out of an event coming up. But one thing I do know that was really cool, even despite the fact that I hate Birdface, Miho Abe is back. She's back. It's been so, you almost forget about her, but I love Miho was one of the interesting parts of Tai Chi's whole presentation, that he had this kind of subservient fangirl. She immediately got in the mix. Tama Tonga had no compunction about going after her either. But man, some crazy stuff going on in New Japan. But as far as the schedule is concerned, they've got a Road to Ignition show coming up on June the 4th, and then it's still set up that we are having Dominion on in just a couple days, 4 days at Osaka Joe Hall. Let's get into it. I might as well get into it. This is not the Dominion card I'm used to. They're going to be announcing a full card, I guess, in a couple days because Dominion's coming up. I will be covering and reviewing it on the channel here, but so far the only matches officially announced is a IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match where Yo will finally get that match against El Desperado that was supposed to be at Wrestling Dontaku, so that makes sense. Jeff Cobb and Kota Ibushi will finally get it on in a one-on-one match, and unfortunately, they just threw this together. IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. Shingo Takagi will take on Kazuchika Okada for the vacated championship. I don't know. It's going to be... New Japan is in a tough spot, but I don't know. I still wish they had saved it, waited to the G1 to do this, but they may not have an option. They may not have the ability to do that. I think it would have been a lot better if they had the new champion crowned after the G1. Now, a lot of people are thinking that Shingo might pull the upset here over Okada. Okada, however, is a proven commodity, and they have had a rough time with interest over there in Japan as well for New Japan. And Okada kind of claims like, well, when I was champion, we were at our heights, and then that's, there's about 30 other reasons for New Japan being hot when he was champion for that year and a half. But, we'll see how it goes down. It's been such a lackluster build, and that's not so much a fault of their own. But man, it's kind of sad to see how things have kind of fallen apart with them, creative wise. But again, hopefully, whatever goes on with New Japan and the pandemic stuff, once the pandemic is over, New Japan is going to have to really kick it into high gear to get back to the momentum that they had before. The fact that I even forgot until right before getting the notes for this podcast that Dominion, probably the third biggest event for New Japan of the year, after Wrestle Kingdom and the G1, was happening on the 6th in a couple days. And I didn't even think about it. It's, it unfortunately is what it is. But, if there's anything you can count on with New Japan is that the wrestlers are going to wrestle hard, wrestle their butts off, and they're going to give you your money's worth. That's never going to change. Those guys take pride in their work, and you're going to get a good show. It's just that the momentum and the feeling around New Japan is not at what it's been in the past 5 or 6 years. But, there's a lot of reasons for that. Speaking of New Japan, however, Tony Khan, of course, you all remember last week, Tony Khan, this big stupid story came out that WWE was in talks with New Japan about being exclusive partners in the United States. Nick Khan, who is the current president and board member of WWE, or chief revenue officer, whatever the freaking titles they give him over there. There was some hint that he was the one pushing that story to Meltzer. Tony Khan cut a quote-unquote promo last week, the same day, right before Dynamite on Friday, and said, hey, you know what? I got the deal with New Japan, so I don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Well, Tony Khan has now explained why he did that. He's talked to a couple of people in the press, and let's see, the direct quote here is, and I quote, "I talked to New Japan, and I asked them if they thought it would be a good idea for a good promo, and they thought it was great," Khan revealed. "I thought it would be a good promos, and so it made sense. We have a lot of stuff going on with New Japan, and everyone's welcome to talk to each other in the wrestling business, but we've done some great stuff with New Japan over the last few weeks, and I think we're going to do some great things moving forward, and I'm excited." So, again, I think I think the big deal with this here is that people are worried about Daniel Bryan in WWE. That's what it's really coming down to. There's so much scuttlebutt, and I'm not buying into any of it, but there's so much scuttlebutt about Daniel Bryan leaving WWE and going to AEW or going to New Japan. Now, I know Bryan wants to go to New Japan, and if Bryan went to New Japan, it might be a better fit for him. He could wrestle, he'd wrestle like a couple times a month for big tours. He'd take most of his time off, spend most of his time with his family, go on a 2-week tour here or there, do some big shows. He'd be Daniel Bryan showing up in New Japan would be a big influx of attention to them that they desperately need right now, given all the bad luck and bad fortune that they've had recently. So, you know, that's what you got. I think as far as the Khan feud, which I think this is not going to be, I don't think this is going to be the end of the Khan feud. I think Nick Khan and Tony Khan, this is not the last we're going to hear of this. This is going to be an ongoing thing. Although I don't think Tony Khan should really engage in it too much more than he already has, because it makes him, he's going after like the fourth tier guy in WWE. That's not a position he wants to be in as the main force behind AEW. I didn't put any stock into the rumors about WWE being an exclusive partner of New Japan in the States. I don't think it's going to happen. Unless WWE's kicking out a lot of money, which, you know, they might, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. But then again, there are other things that made me go, I could see it being a possibility. You know, again, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa just lost the tag titles out of the blue. It's a little suspicious to me. Why they didn't do it at Dominion in a couple days, I don't know. I'm curious about New Japan's finances because of the pandemic. That may be a cause for concern there too. But given what Tony Khan here said, you know, taking what Tony Khan has said as truth, if he already talked to New Japan and they kind of approved him cutting a promo about it, that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the possibility of this exclusive deal with WWE and New Japan being a thing. I don't want the exclusive deals. I would love for New Japan to work with everybody. I would love for all these companies to work with each other. If Roman Reigns shows up at Wrestle Kingdom to face Kazuchika Okada, great. If Tetsuya Naito shows up at WrestleMania to take on Randy Orton, awesome. If the Guerrillas of Destiny fight the Usos, great. If I see Braun Strowman, well, sorry, not anymore. That's terrible. If I see, I don't know, Abaddon do a mixed tag match with Bray Wyatt, if we can find out where the hell Bray Wyatt is, I'd be all for that. I'm all for the companies working together and at least, you know, having some talent traits with each other. I think that's all it really should be. I think the era of wrestling that we're entering into, fans are ready for this. I think we'd be more accepting of this. All the companies stay themselves. But if 2 or 3 guys or girls from company X go to company Y for a program, and 2 or 3 go from company Y to company A for a program, and it's not an invasion thing, don't do that. But if there's a couple of people that pop up here and there in different places, it's, number one, good for business. And number two, way more exciting for wrestling fans, because it'll be back to that place where it was for me in the Monday Night War, where you don't know who's going to show up on what show from week to week across the wrestling spectrum. That's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. And that's something that's kind of been missing a lot from wrestling since the Monday Night War era. One of the things that was great about the Monday Night War era. But I don't know. That's a lot to digest this week. Braun Strowman. Guerrillas losing the tag titles. Just the Dominion happening and everybody forgetting about it. There's going to be a new IWGP champion as of this weekend, and Tony Khan talking a lot of crap. I don't know where wrestling is going over the next 6 months. I think we're at a point now where things are either going to get really, really bad or really, really good, one way or the other. I mean, AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view was kind of a spark of life in the right direction, and I think when we get new shows with new crowds, and once AEW's new deal settles down, and then we can get away from these Friday night shows, which, by the way, AEW did 500,000 views on their Friday night edition of Dynamite, which, of course, all the morons from last week are like, see, the wheels are falling off. It's like, I'm not even getting into that. And in fact, you know what? That's the whole thing. When people say that stuff, just ignore them. It doesn't matter anymore. Why? There are people fighting over ratings for a company that they don't work for something that they don't get a benefit out of, for wins and losses that they didn't contribute to a rivalry that they're not even involved with. It's about time to again, I said this a couple weeks ago, and I am only using Twitter for promotional purposes and the occasional comment. But at this point in time, Twitter is a terrible place. I'm not spending any more time on it. I've been trying to do it for weeks. I've been saying it for weeks, but I pretty much took it off my phone and took it off my computer. So outside of promoting through other channels to Twitter, I'm not going to be talking on that much. And, it's probably going to be better for me, and I'll feel better about the wrestling industry not engaging so much with some of this stuff. Anyway, that's this week's very short edition of the Rant and Review podcast, because some pretty shocking stuff happened. And I don't know, dude. I'm very worried about where wrestling's going in the next 6 months. But I want to know what you guys think about that. If you guys do follow me on social media, let me know what you think about the podcast and all these news stories. Again, I've got some old school watch-alongs. We just did Roddy Piper and Greg the Hammer Valentine's dog collar match from '83. That's for my old school patrons on Patreon, so you can check that out there. We will be having some new stuff on the YouTube channel. I do have, since, again, speaking of pandemics being over and things opening up, I have a brand new video on my Wrestling with Finance channel that some of you saw today that teaches you guys how to be able to go to a pay-per-view without having to pay for airfare, without having to pay for room and board or hotel. And there's very simple ways to do that people have been doing for a long time, so you might want to check that out for some of you who are interested in that on my channel, Wrestling with Finance. And we will be picking up next week as far as the video game stuff is concerned with Little Hope, which is the second game in the Dark Pictures trilogy, anthology that they're putting out. So we'll be doing that playthrough next week on the channel. So until this weekend, and more videos coming up with more news as it comes out about these releases and everything else going on, and a review of Dominion from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I will see you guys then. Have a good time. Be safe. Behave yourselves, but not too much.